Samantha Busch says it's time to cancel the next-gen car, and my power rankings look completely different this week. I don't think one driver stayed in the same spot. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Happy Monday, folks. It is a very happy Monday indeed. I stepped outside this morning and it finally felt almost sort of kind of like fall. I think it was in the low 80s here in Texas, which, yeah, had to dress accordingly. The entire NASCAR industry, it seems, is still arguing about Saturday's Bristol night race. We'll get to that in just a moment, but some news real quick. Could be a slow news week, so I want to react to anything interesting that may pop up. Rackley WAR announced today that Dawson Sutton will take over the number 25 truck. Ty Dillon stepping down, will still be with the team in a different capacity, but now it's Dawson Sutton, the young 18-year-old, will actually drive the truck. We all knew this day was coming. Kid's been racing short tracks, turned 18 earlier this year. His dad co-owns the team, owns Rackley Roofing, something like that, or both. He's made a couple of truck starts this year, finished 18th at Nashville Superspeedway in just his second career start. Ty Dillon fans, do not worry. Rumors suggest he will end up at Colleague driving the number 31 Cup Series Chevrolet. I like Ty, he's a good dude, but his on-track performance this year has not earned him a second chance in the NASCAR Cup Series, in my humble opinion. He has 2 top 10s this year in a truck that last year had 12 top 10s with Matt DiBenedetto, was a playoff contender just a season ago. This season has been a huge step backwards for the Rackley WAR number 25 Truck Series team. But we also knew that Matt DiBenedetto and Ty Dillon were effectively keeping that seat warm for the owner's son, Dawson. That's what's happening now. The transition is finally occurring. Good luck to Dawson. Hope he's good, but frankly, I don't think it'll matter much. As long as he's not god-awful, the seat is his. Anyway, moving on. We'll get to power rankings in a moment. I'm especially excited to share mine with you this week, but everyone's still talking Bristol, including Kyle Busch's wife, Samantha. Kyle had a rough Saturday night at the last Great Coliseum, qualified 29th, finished 25th. The next morning, Sunday morning, Samantha tweeted this. Not just saying this because we didn't run well, but can we all agree the only exciting part of the race was watching Owen celebrate with Larson? Can't remember a Bristol race being that blah in a long time. Time to cancel this race car. Whoa! I mean, I can't say she's wrong, though that's not exactly a constructive post. And I'm sure some fans are going to dismiss it because, yeah, her husband struggled Saturday night. He struggled in this new car. At Bristol in particular. In the Gen 5, Busch had 5 Bristol wins. In the Gen 6, he had 3 Bristol wins. In the Gen 7, in the next gen, Kyle Busch's best Bristol finish is 20th. So fans don't want to hear you complain when you're the only one struggling. I mean, it reminds me somewhat of that infamous Aisha Curry tweet about NBA refs being rigged or what have you. But if you're able to look past all that, Samantha Busch is pointing out an obvious fact, in my opinion. NASCAR designed a race car that struggles at short tracks. If NASCAR's goal was to design a car that promotes action-packed short track racing, they have failed miserably. Like I said yesterday, they've asked Goodyear to bail them out, and Goodyear hasn't been able to help much, at least not consistently. So Samantha Busch is right. The next-gen car has serious design flaws, but the reason I say that post isn't particularly constructive is because she's not offering a solution. What is the solution? The next-gen car isn't going anywhere. They're not scrapping it tomorrow. You're not going to tell all these teams to trash millions of dollars of equipment. That's just not realistic. The car is here to stay. They continue to tinker with the tires. Maybe one day they'll tinker with the horsepower, though several Cup drivers are on record saying that even if you up the horsepower, it likely won't make a difference. So any major design changes to this car are extremely expensive, and after a long summer, really a long 2 summers of teams in NASCAR arguing over money, I don't see any major expenses coming down the pipeline anytime soon. So I can relate to what Samantha is feeling. Obviously, many fans likely feel the same way, but feeling a certain way is easy. Coming up with a reasonable possible solution is a lot more difficult. Reporter Jeff Gluck does his weekly "Was it a good race?" poll on Twitter/X, and this week's Bristol night race was the lowest rated Bristol race in the history of his poll. I saw a report that said Saturday night was the biggest Bristol Motor Speedway crowd in 15 years. Fans liked what they saw in the spring and wanted to come out and support more of that. That's not what they got. But here's the problem. Fans, drivers, teams are always split on everything. I swear. Kyle Larson, who won Saturday night's Bristol night race, said that this was a better race than the spring. Larson said, quote, "I know you guys, fans, media, probably think the race in the spring was better. As a driver, I would rather run 100% all night long for 500 laps than run 50%. I don't think that's much of a race." This is part of the problem. How can we agree on how to fix the car when we can't even all agree on what makes a good short track race? I thought the Bristol Spring race was thrilling. 54 lead changes compared to only 8 lead changes this past Saturday. Veteran drivers bubbling to the front, including Larson. Larson ran 5th in the spring. Not like he was way off the pace. He still did well. Talented drivers showing off the skills they've learned. I thought the spring was great, but clearly some drivers, and I'm sure some fans, disagree. I guess this segment is just meant to highlight how everyone has a very strong opinion, but no one seems to agree on the next step, the next course of action. What should we do? What do we want NASCAR racing to look like? Because Kyle Larson also replied to Jeff Gluck's poll results and said, lead 450 laps but have 2 overtime restarts and lose, and I guarantee the percentage is flip-flopped. That's our fan base. So maybe fans want overtime every week. Maybe every race should have a caution called with 2 laps to go and we can have a shootout to settle it. Oh no, I should not be giving NASCAR any bad ideas. I'm not sure there's a point to this segment other than to showcase how split it feels everyone in the industry, and that includes fans, truly are. No one's happy, but not necessarily for the same reasons. And I've yet to see anyone actually give us a viable, realistic, possible solution, because we're not scrapping the next gen car. That is not realistic. 5-10 years from now, maybe, but that's a long time to wait. What can we do now? Increase the horsepower? It'd be nice to see him try it, but what do we do if it doesn't work? Anyway, kind of a downer segment, but thought Samantha Busch's and Kyle Larson's comments were very interesting. Let's talk power rankings. This should be more fun. Every week, I rank the top 10 fastest drivers and teams in the NASCAR Cup Series. This is a combination of both historical data and future projections. That's how it's been all year. That's how it is today, and I've made some big changes. I hope I don't sound like a hater, but I do not have Joey Logano or Austin Cindric in my top 10. First, Joey Logano. Yes, he won Atlanta, but he wasn't great at Watkins Glen or Bristol. That's been his whole season. He's good at super speedways and short tracks. He's okay everywhere else. Where are we going? Kansas. He wrecked here in the spring. And Austin Cindric, look, he had a fantastic round of 16, exceeded all expectations. He's been consistent. His last 4 finishes, 13th, 10th, 10th, 13th. That's pretty good. It's really good by Cindric standards, but I'm not sure it's good enough to crack the top 10. I'm sorry. At number 10, y'all got on me last week. I wanted to make room for one non-playoff driver. That has to be Ross Chastain. He has 5 straight finishes of 13th or better. He's led laps in 3 of the last 4 races. Trey Ryan, who's a great follow on Twitter, shared a chart that showed Ross Chastain scored the second most points in the round of 16 despite not being a playoff driver. Ross Chastain at number 10. I've dropped William Byron to number 9. Look, I get that he has 3 wins. With the points resetting, he's 4th in the standings. But this team is far too inconsistent for me to rank any higher. He has won top 10 the last 5 races. And over the last nearly 4 months, since the beginning of June, William Byron has only led 25 laps and he hasn't won a single stage. And they weren't great at Bristol either. Little too close for comfort. William Byron at 9. At number 8, I've got Alex Bowman. You know that Trey Ryan chart I referenced earlier? Yeah, nobody scored more points than Alex Bowman in the opening round of the playoffs. Earned stage points in both Atlanta stages, both Bristol stages. Another interesting stat, Bowman led only 14 laps all regular season. He led 40 laps in the first round of the playoffs. Alex Bowman moving up to number 8. At number 7, I want to see how far he can go. Chase Briscoe and Stewart-Haas Racing brought it at Bristol. Stewart-Haas cars finished 7th, 8th, and 12th. Briscoe, another top 10. Look at his last 4 races. He wins Darlington, gets caught up in an early crash at Atlanta, okay, but then 6th at Watkins Glen, best playoff driver in the field, 8th at Bristol, coming through in the clutch. He says he's a championship contender. I'm not sure I'd go that far, but he has snuck into the round of 8 before. He could do it again. Chase Briscoe at number 7. Moving up 1 spot to number 6 this week is Denny Hamlin. Strong top 5 at Bristol. We knew he had it in him. We just hadn't seen it in a while. I talked about noise surrounding this team yesterday. Hopefully that's quieted some of the noise, at least for the time being. Denny is at 6. At number 5, I lied earlier. I did keep one driver in the same spot. That's Chase Elliott at 5. Finished 8th at Atlanta earlier in this round, 2nd at Bristol. I thought he had a really good car, just wasn't quite as good as his teammate. Consistency has been key for this team all year long. He's steady. Elliott makes very few mistakes. He only has 1 DNF all year long. That's fewest among remaining playoff drivers. If Hendrick Motorsports gives him top 5 cars, he will get through to the round of 8. I'm convinced. I've got Ryan Blaney at number 4. He got crashed out on lap 1 of the Watkins Glen race, but finished 3rd at Atlanta, 6th at Bristol. I believe Ryan Blaney is the best all-around, most reliable Team Penske driver right now, and he's the defending series champion. That's worth some brownie points. Ryan Blaney at number 4. Top 3 made some changes. Give Tyler Reddick the bronze medal. Watkins Glen 2 weeks ago was extremely disappointing. Statistically speaking, Reddick has been the best road course racer the past 3 seasons, but at the Glen, didn't qualify very well, was never a factor, finished 27th. I was hoping that was just a weird, wacky one-off, but then Bristol happened. I know he played some tire strategy to get some stage points, but again, was never really a factor and wound up finishing 20th. This team was squeaky clean, bad fast all summer long. Got to get their mojo back. No time to lose. At number 2, Christopher Bell had a very quiet opening round, and maybe that's when the 20 team is at their best. When they're dominating races, competing for stage wins, that's when they seem to make mistakes or run into trouble. But when they're cool, calm, and quiet, he finished 4th, I believe, at Atlanta, 3rd at Bristol the other night. 5th at Bristol the other night. Top 5 finish. Was a solid 14th at Watkins Glen. Christopher Bell is tied for the most top 5s on the season. He's 2nd in top 10, 2nd in stage wins. He resets 2nd in points. Christopher Bell, 2nd on my power rankings. At number 1, once again, is Kyle Larson. They've had the speed all along. They just keep making mistakes. Go back to Darlington. Led 260 laps, finished top 5, no problem. But then Atlanta, he makes a mistake, spins out while running 3rd. Watkins Glen makes a mistake on pit road, still battled back to finish 12th somehow. And then Bristol, no mistakes, they lead 460 laps and win. So that's the thing, when Larson doesn't make mistakes, the 5 team is capable of domination. Kansas this weekend should be good for this team. He won there in the spring. Kyle Larson at 1. When this team is clicking, no one looks scarier. There's my top 10. Very different than it's looked in recent weeks, but I like this one. I really like where I've got my picks this week. That'll do it for this episode, y'all. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more NASCAR content, commentary, news, rumors, race recaps, and more every single day. And a big thank you to my very generous Patreon supporters. Lots more coming your way this week. I have an episode of Power Hour, my podcast with Brennan Poole. Ryan Truex is our special guest. You'll hear from us later in the week. I'm also hosting NWP Wednesday night, live stream. Set a reminder, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Should be a lot of fun. Lots to talk about heading into the round of 12. Thanks for tuning in, folks. I'll see you again soon.